Hello everyone and welcome back to Kids Kitchen with Gabby. So today we're going to be making a 2-layered chocolate cake, which I've never ever tried before. So this is going to be a very new recipe for me. So let's get right into the video. I will be telling you all the ingredients. So we need 2 cups of white sugar, which we keep in this tin right here. We need a cup and 3/4 of all-purpose flour. This is the brand we'll be using for the video. And then we're going to need 3/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. So we have about 4 packets of this company. I don't know if you can see. And then we're gonna need 1.5 teaspoons of both baking soda and baking powder, which we have here. This is the companies that we'll be using. And then we will need a teaspoon salt, just regular old salt that you just find in the supermarket. And then we're going to need 2 eggs, which you can see right here. A cup of milk. We'll be using lactose-free milk, because why not? And then we're gonna need a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, which we have right here, and a cup of boiling water, which is we kept in this thermos right here. Then we're also gonna be making a chocolate ganache, which is basically chocolate cream for the cakes, because you can't make a cake without cream. I don't think so. So we're gonna need milk compound. This is basically milk chocolate or cooking milk chocolate. And then the recipe says heavy whipping cream, but this is what we found. So we're gonna need about 2 cups of chocolate milk compound and 2 cups of whipping cream. Okay, let's move on to some of the utensils that we'll be using. So there's a lot more utensils that will come up in the video, but these are some of the ones we're gonna be starting with. So we're gonna need a whisk for the dry ingredients, most likely, spatula for the entire mixture. We're gonna need a hand mixer. This is for the ganache. We're going to need to hand mix it at some point. A cup, a teaspoon. I'm just gonna add the 3/4 cups just in case. And we have, this is the bowl we'll be mixing our chocolate ganache in, and this is the bowl that we'll be mixing the entire chocolate batter in. So other things will come up in the video, like maybe the tins that we're gonna put the chocolate cake in itself, and all those other things. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so as most recipes, baking recipes usually dictate, we're supposed to preheat the oven to 175 degrees and then grease our tin. But since I don't know how much butter we will eventually end up with, I usually like to do that part last. So in this video, I'll do that part last, but if you're sure about how much butter you're gonna end up with, feel free to do just that. So preheat your oven to 175 degrees and then grease the tins that you're going to be using for this cake. So obviously I'm going to use 2 tins because I'd like to make a layer cake. So yeah. The first step that we need to do is mix our dry ingredients. So let's get our bowl out. Remember, before you start any baking, you must wash your hands. So if you have not washed your hands by now, this is the time. Okay, so first we will measure out the sugar. 2 cups of sugar. Okay, that is our 2 cups of white sugar. Then we're going to need our flour. Okay, that's our flour right there. Then we're going to measure our salt, which was 1 teaspoon. And our, what is it called? Unsweetened cocoa powder. This is gonna take a while. Okay, then we need 1.5 teaspoons of our baking powder and baking soda. This is the company I'm using. Yeah, this is the company I'm using. Then our baking soda. So I have poured everything in there. So now we just whisk it together. Okay. So make sure you clean up your space all the time as you move on. So throw away any wrappings. These are some of the wrappings I use. Yeah. Then be sure to wipe your counter. So I have a wet rag, damp rag right here, and then make sure you wipe your space. Then we will move on to the next step. Once you've cleared up your workspace, we're gonna move on to the wet ingredients. So we start with the milk, which is 1 cup of milk. Okay. That is our milk. Move on to your oil, which should be a half cup of vegetable oil. Then we move on to our vanilla extract, which is 2 teaspoons. And our eggs. So a tip for the eggs is make sure you have a separate bowl, just in case your eggs have gone bad. You don't want it to end up straight into your mixture. That's what my mom always tells me. So make sure you have a separate bowl to crack your eggs into. Yeah. Then pour that into your mixture. Alright, now the recipe says to mix it with a hand mixer for 2 minutes. So I have my hand mixer here, that's why it's on the extreme end. And we will be moving on to that now. So I'll come back once I have finished mixing everything for 2 minutes. Okay, so I have mixed up our batter. It's looking very dark brown right now, if you can see. So now the recipe says that we should add a cup of boiling water. So this is our boiling water, make sure to add a full cup. Don't worry, the butter is supposed to be thin, so if you find it looking very, very thin after you're done mixing, don't worry, that's how it's supposed to be. So I'll come back once I've mixed it up completely. Okay, so I have just finished mixing my butter, and it is incredibly watery, like it's like almost like water. So I guess that's what they mean by thin. So now at this point, this is when we'll be greasing our tins. So I have 2 tins that are like this, very cute, very small, because the butter is a lot less than I was anticipating. But yes, we're gonna be greasing these tins. And how I usually grease them is I use a bit of margarine, so using Prestige margarine, and some flour. So what we're gonna do is using paper towels, because I don't like my hands getting greasy with margarine. We're going to get a bit of this margarine, wipe it along the insides of the tin, if that makes sense. So you're just going to wipe it nicely along the inside, and then you're going to add flour to coat the margarine, so that once the cake is inside, it's easy for it to come out. So yeah, I'll just give us a little bit of a demonstration. So you get some margarine, like so, and then just wipe it along there. So as you can see, I have coated the insides. I don't know if you can completely tell, but I have coated the insides with some margarine. So now you get a bit of flour, and then just put it inside and start coating the sides now with flour as well. Don't worry, remember we wipe your station as you go, so I'll wipe that later. There's a lot. Then make sure to tap it on every side so that the excess flour that's trying to stick won't be there. You will just have clumps of hot flour on the bottom of your cake. So ignoring the extra flour that's there, that's how, if you can tell, it's supposed to be just coated with flour. You'll tell it is fully coated. If you need more margarine, feel free to put more. But yeah, so I will do the same for this tin right here, wipe up my space, and then we'll come back to pour the butter into our tins. Okay, I have completed the process and greased and floured both of our tins, if you can tell. So now we need to pour our very thin butter equally into these. And while you're doing this, feel free to preheat your oven so that your oven is hot enough once the cakes enter. So let's go ahead and evenly pour these in. Okay, so as it appears, I have sorely underestimated how much butter we have. So they are kind of full. You can't exactly tell and I can't exactly tip them over, but they're pretty full. So I will just bake them the way they are and cover them with foil, whatever is needed to make sure that they're cooked in the middle. So I'm gonna go put these in the oven and then we're going to move on and make the ganache while these things are cooking. Okay, welcome back. So I have my cakes in the oven and now I'm ready to make my chocolate cream or ganache. So we have all the utensils, all the ingredients that we need here. So I would prefer that you get a buttload of chocolate chips because this process is gonna be way more tedious. So I have to cut up this chocolate compound to make chips so that they can fit into this cup, so I can measure 2 cups. I hope we're together so far. So I would prefer just get a lot of chocolate chips for this recipe, but since I do not have that privilege at the moment, we're just gonna chop this up, try and, I don't know, measure 1 cup out of it, and then we'll move on to the whipped cream. The whipping cream, yes. So let's chop this up. Okay, this is our progress so far, if you can tell. That's about 3/4 cups. So I have so far chopped up 2 bars of this, 2 of like these boxes. So I'm gonna keep cutting until I reach 2 cups. I put them in our bowl over here and then we'll continue from there. Okay, I have completed that tedious process and this is how far we have reached. So that's approximately 2 cups of chocolate. I hope it will be enough. So now we will be using 2 cups of whipping cream. So 1 cup is about 230 something ml and these are each 200. So since we didn't get enough, I'll just dump both of them inside and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we have just finished dumping all that inside. So yeah, it's just a bunch of whipping cream, nothing fancy. I don't want to pour anything. So make sure again to wipe your station as you move along. I had a little accident, but make sure to wipe your station as you move along and we are about to move on to the next step. Okay, so we're just going to, usually when you melt chocolate, it's supposed to be like the bowl of chocolate over a bowl of hot water or like a pot with boiling water. So since I don't want to go to the stove and we can't record there right now, I will just be putting hot water in this bowl and hope it will work. So we'll just put hot water in this bowl, put this on top, and then continue mixing, start mixing and continue mixing until everything in here is melted. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So that I do not burn the table, I put a board, a wooden board. So we're just gonna mix and mix and mix until everything here is melted, and then I will show you the finished product. Okay, so after you're done, you should have a dark brown liquid. I don't know if you can see. So now we're going to clean film it until it cools till room temperature. So don't put it in the fridge, don't do any of that. Just let it sit by itself until it reaches room temperature. And I forgot to tell you, the cakes are supposed to bake for 30 minutes. And then let them cool completely because you can't stack hot cakes and they'll just keep molding into each other. Yes, so we're gonna cover this with cling film. Make sure it touches the liquid itself. So the cling film goes all the way down until it touches the liquid. Something like that. So just make sure the liquid touches the cling film. The cling film touches the liquid. Then just let that sit on its own for I don't know how long actually. I will time mine and see how long it will take for it to reach room temperature. So just let it cool, let the cakes cool, and then we'll come back to put everything together. Okay, welcome back everybody. So I believe my ganache has dried until room temperature. It took more than 30 minutes for that to happen, so just beware. So now we're going to remove the cling film and whip it up. This is going to be a very messy process, so let me get back to you guys. Okay, so I have removed the cling film. So now we're supposed to whip it up until it becomes, well, the texture of cream. So I will show you once I'm done, but I'm just gonna whip it for however long it takes until it becomes creamy. Yes. Okay, we have mixed for more than 5 minutes and seen zero change. So my assumption is that we have not let it cool enough. So I'm gonna pop it in the fridge for a bit, and then we'll come back and see if that changes anything. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, welcome back, guys. So we put the chocolate ganache in the fridge for a total of 20 minutes, then a bit more over that. So this is the consistency we currently have. I am not sure if this is how thick it is supposed to be, but this is as thick as we seem to be able to get it. So we will just try and see if it's okay. So we also have our cakes on the side over here. We put them on a tray with baking paper. I almost broke one. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, so they've completely cooled. Make sure your cakes completely cool. It should not even have a hint of warmth, or the chocolate ganache will eventually just melt. So let's get right into it. So as I see other people doing it, you're supposed to cut off the top here so that it's flat. So we're going to go ahead and do that for both cakes, and then I'll figure out where to put the broken one, on the top or on the bottom. And then yeah, so I'll just slice off the top to make it as flat as possible so that it's easier to stack. Okay, please be careful. Don't slice your fingers off. And your cake will most likely be very fragile. Just be patient. I think I am not cutting a straight line, but you will just see how it is once we are done. Oh yeah. Then this, you should put it in a different place because it can still be eaten. Wow. Okay, that's not bad. Can you see? Yeah, it's looking a lot flatter. So I'll do that for the second one, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've tried my best to level both of the cakes. They might be a little bit unlevel, but I'm just trying. This is for the first time. So now we're gonna put some of the ganache on the lower one. So this is the one on the bottom. So let's put some there. I don't have any of the tools that you're supposed to use for icing a cake, so I'm just gonna use my spatula. So let's spread that evenly. Okay. I do not want to finish all the ganache for later. So there we go. Now I'm gonna put this. I need to get this. Put the bottom one. This is gonna be on the bottom. So now I need to put this one on top of this one as carefully as possible. So as not to be this is the broken piece. I don't know if you guys can see, because now if I tip it over, that's it. Okay, so now, this is not gonna look so smooth. I'm just gonna try and put some ganache all over. Okay. I have tried my best to go down and just fill the spaces so that it looks kind of flat. I have, yeah, like just gone all the way around. I'm gonna try flatten it a bit more, and then I'm gonna come back. Yeah. Okay, so I have tried my best to cover as much of it as possible with cream, with ganache, and then I used the back of this knife that we used to cut the chocolate to flatten some sides. So now I have some piping tips here. So tips like these that you usually see on these cake baking shows. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, we have some piping tips and we have a Ziploc bag. So I like to put some of the ganache inside here and then pipe it onto the cake in like I don't know, some type of design. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But so I'm just gonna transfer some of this ganache in here, and I will be back once that happens. Okay, so we have put some in this Ziploc bag over here. So there's quite a lot in here. So this Ziploc bag doesn't exactly have a clear tip, so I'm just gonna snip off some and hope it's not too big of a dent. So just snip off a little. Okay. Then You're supposed to insert this into one of the piping tubes. I'm gonna try this one first. Honestly, I don't know how they make it stay in place, so I hope it will stay in place for me. Okay. Okay. Then I push some of the icing that side. Okay, so I found there's some extra pieces I didn't even know what they were for, so I connected them. I think that will make it better. So now push the icing. Oh, it's working. Oh yeah, guys, it's working. So I needed assistance. I got my assistance from my parents, and I'm holding it together. Don't worry. So now it's reached the tip. If you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can see, it's coming out over there. So. Wow, it's looking a bit shaky, but what? It's actually working. Okay guys, we are finally finished. This is our finished product. I had to get help from my dad because the icing was just falling all over the place, and we even added 2 white Oreos on the top. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying this far. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment on what else you'd like me to cook. That's it. Bye. As a Christmas special. Okay, that was so bad. Let's start again. Let's embark on this new adventure. No. No. Our very thin butter here. So we need to pour it evenly into our no. Okay, so I have completed the process and both 2 cups. So I need to cut this up so that we have 2 cups of less butter again. I don't even have the cup here.
Wow.
It's coming out of another side over here. There's a hole over here. Okay. Cannot show. Okay, that sounds so weird. Okay, we're done. We added 2 white Oreos on the top to make it look edible. No, that was no.